Welcome everyone to a tier list for the top legendary and in this case the one top quality legendary internal manuals in Heroes Adventure. So as you can see on the left we have the tier list and on the right, so that especially newer players know what each of the manuals does, we have the wiki page and we'll be going by item ID order. So let us start out with the 9 provinces manual. In my opinion, it is a definite A tier. It has the potential to be S tier, but it's still somewhat lacking. What it does is it recovers 20% of missing HP and MP after each of your actions. And it can be doubled with the regenerative body trait. So suddenly you're looking at 40% lost HP and MP recovery. And that is super good. Furthermore, if you get multiple actions, which includes God of Gambling, which includes the Fire Passive Tree or the Windwalker node, each of those actions will trigger this healing and, well, in this case, reduction of statuses as well, albeit the secondary part is not too impactful. But if you have God of Gambling and Regenerative Body, you're looking at 64% of lost HP recovery each turn. Imagine you have 10,000 HP, you are at 1 HP, that's like 6,400 HP recovered. Insanely good. Now, one issue it does have is you would normally use this on a build with a very high HP because, well, the more HP you have, the more you recover because it's a percentage based healing. But on those builds with a lot of HP, they typically have a lot of defense as well. As such, they barely take any damage. And if you barely take any damage, lost HP recovery is a bit worse. So if this, like, it somehow counteracts itself in the build, but it's still super strong regardless, solves all your HP issues, solves all your MP issues. If you build a tank build and have this manual, you can just go onto auto battle and that's it. Next up, the Dragon King Aura recovers 20% of the protagonist's max HP and MP up to 250 points for each enemy killed during a single battle. I'll be honest, if it was 20% HP and MP recovery, good. But then it has the restrictions of only up to 250 healing and only after killing an enemy. A lot of the endgame fights are simply single battles. Where do you use this at all? There is no point in time where you actively use this. And as such, I have to put it into D tier for Dragon King. Next up, the Archdemon Soul Eating skill. 20% of damage dealt is converted to own HP, and you also leech some MP from the enemies. Very, very strong, and as such, this is my first S tier. It's super good as you can recover a lot of HP. It's super good in that it completely nullifies reflect on the enemy because you take damage, then you heal again, and effectively you didn't take any damage. In a lot of cases, most enemies, and I'm looking at difficulty 2560, enemies will have 15% reflect. And when you have 20% leech, you are out healing the reflect. And let's be honest, if you look at all of my runs across my whole playtime on the highest difficulty, too many use the Archdemon Soul Eating skill. If you know how to obtain it, it's also super easy to obtain. You can do it at probably level 50 in-game day. Okay, you would need to read a book. In-game day 20, 25, something like that. Like super easy to obtain if you know what you're doing, and super strong and will carry you. Next up, Infinity Origin Move, and I feel like I have to create a new category for Infinity Origin Move. On its own, the effect is super subpar. Like the cooldown of your external skills is reduced by 1. It doesn't matter too much. If you are playing around with God of Gambling and throwables, you only need 2 active legendary attacks to constantly cycle between them. You are never impacted by the cooldown. If you have a top quality attacks only, you would need 3 of them. And in most cases, you are running 5 attacks and 4 internals. Or maybe 4 attacks, 5 internals. Doesn't matter, in those cases, you still have no issues with the cooldown whatsoever. But where Infinity Origin move shines is with the Infinity Sword attack. The Infinity Sword attack gets 150% more damage if you have exactly this manual equipped. As such, it has some very niche use cases. Next up, Endless Maha, and I probably should have prefaced this video. I am trying out new mic settings in OBS, so let me know how it goes and how I sound. Maybe I need to tweak some more things, maybe it's fine like that. But Endless Maha, plus 50% damage on your next action after you crit. There's a ton of issues with this. First up, it does nothing on your first hit, and then only potentially on your second hit. And that is not that amazing. I'd rather have something that has an impact on the whole situation. And furthermore, there are some enemies that are immune to crits, such as the Confucius sect leader, as well as some other enemies you'd also need to crit. And do you automatically need to run the Imperial Seal with it? It's a bit annoying. Furthermore, the quest line in which you obtain it is rather rare, the Yuan army one, and not everyone does it. So yeah. And furthermore, across all of the runs I ever did on my playthroughs, or in total, I have never used this once. So I wouldn't recommend it at all. The next one is almost the same, Holy Brahma D tier. It's bizarrely, it gives you less spirit gained whenever you would gain spirit, and then has a stacking or accumulating damage multiplier. Now I'm uncertain whether it's multiplicative or additive. If it's multiplicative, it would be a lot stronger. 10 hits would give you times 4 damage versus times 2.5 damage. That would be interesting, but there are too few scenarios where this is of real effect. A lot of endgame battles, as mentioned, are single battles, so 1-on-1, and in this case you're maybe getting 15% damage, which is not too much. The only scenario I can envision this being highly damaging is the siege on Chuxiang City when you're fighting the Yanyun general. There are a lot of other archers and soldiers around. Those could hit you and then slowly accumulate your damage, and then you burst him down with one heavy hit. But those archers and other soldiers have such low action speed that it's irrelevant. So it's going into D. Furthermore, it's this manual, the Holy Brahma technique, is mutually exclusive with the Confucius and Taoist one. The Taoist one is not that good either, but the Confucius one is really good. So I would never take Holy Brahma over the Confucius one. Celestial Lady Scattering Flowers. First up, what you'll notice with this manual, it's a lot worse in terms of stats than all of the other ones we've seen so far. And the idea is you obtain it really early on into the game. Now, the effect it has is really bad. If you run some throwing weapons, you would never want to run this. You'd rather want to scale up your throwing stat using the Swallow Nest, and this actually limits your throwing range. So yeah, it gets super handy in that you can obtain it very early on, and when you obtain it very early on, 300 defense, 300 HP is really solid, but it has no further use cases outside of that. The ancient sage poison technique is first up annoying to obtain via questline. It's the Jolly tribe questline, and you have to side with them, which you typically do not want to do. Alternatively, you can pick it from your character starting menu and like start out with it. But I'll be honest, the effects are so pointless. It even adds toxicology 64 or 84 even, and that means if you want to do CITES poison testing, you need to first like unlearn this manual. If you actively forget to unlearn this manual, you are completely screwed once you did 2 poison testings, because CITES will say, oh, you have like too much poison in your body already, I will never do poison testing on you again. And then even if you unlearn this one, you're completely screwed. It will never happen again. So I would never recommend this. Just throw it into the bin, throw it into the garbage, and forget about it. It's a shame since it was like recently added to the character creation start, but so be it. Dancing Garment Sutra. Plus action speed for your party members, minus attack and defense for the enemies. I'll put it into B tier. I would never run this manual on my main character. Never, unless I'm explicitly doing a challenge in which my main character is never allowed to do damage and only allies. That like would be the scenario in which I could equip it. But the main reason is if you're playing with some party members. Give one of your random party members this one. You as the main protagonist get some action speed. You will deal more damage as the enemies have less defense, and you buff yourself. Obviously, the counter argument against Dancing Garment Sutra is if you're running party members, you don't get the Loner and Lone Wanderer, which will like weaken your character a bit, but it's just like a payoff. If you want to fight with your wives, and yeah, you already have party members, equip it on them. It's also like decently easy to obtain with the Melody House questline. Yeah, it's okay. I just reread it. It's a bit later on, but you can still grab it. So there's that. The one plate style. Ah, right. Okay. This is actually not on my list right here. I guess we can add it because it's currently not obtainable. So there's that. Let me add it for a moment. Nah. We'll not add it. We'll skip over it. Otherwise, people will read the final tier list and be like, huh, where's my one blade style? And you can even like notice from the IDs, number 13 is also skipped in the game, which will like provides me some hope that it may be added in the future. I'm still hoping for some additional updates, like some additional new content, but yeah, we'll see. Omnipotent Demon Sealing Move. The one technique that has so much text, it's so convoluted, and no one has any clue what's going on when they read it for the first time. The wiki did break it down quite well, in that you deal more damage with a crit, you take less damage when you parry, you get some action speed or chi when you evade, and enemies within a certain range of you have less attack and less defense. It's probably going into A. I'll be honest, like this is super good. A lot of damage, more crit damage, less defense on the enemy, which means they take more damage. Super nice. It also provides some defensive options. It's very easy to obtain, as nearly everyone does the Ice Prison questline at some point, and you simply get it from the old demon. And I would always like use it. By the way, something I may like point out right now, that you see these charge inner powers, poison inner powers a character could get depending on the manual. They are irrelevant. I can probably count the amount of time I have used them on like one hand, and there's that. The Beast King technique. Your pet will gain a boost to The moment you read pet, you can almost always put it into C or D tier. In particular, your pets are not super good unless you highly invest into them. Investing into them can be done with those permanent stat pills. You can get your pets, your horse, to multiple thousands of strength, dex, etc. I've done so as well. At this point, though, you don't need Beast King technique anymore. If you truly invest into your pet and make him the best he could be, or it could be, it does not need a multiplier. And keep in mind, this is at random, so completely pointless to me. The prayer manual. Revive once per battle with 25% HP and MP and clears all status effects. Furthermore, it more or less ends the current enemy's turn. It has some very cool scenarios where I was able to use it as well. There are some like revenge kill strategies where the enemy kills you and then you kill him. You can use it with some damage share, etc. It's also relatively simple to obtain. Like the area can be accessed from day one. You do need to be approximately level 50 or have a good setup to defeat the enemies, but I'll put it into B. And the only reason I'm putting it into B is because it has some like niche use cases. To give an example, the 9 faction sect leader, I forgot his name, there is some battle with him when you try to prove or like correct the injustice that the Ye army suffered. And there's a one-on-one battle against him, and he inflicts a lot of shield, like restricting your movement. And as such, he gets like a lot of turns afterwards, and he can stun lock and kill you. You can solve it a lot with the prayer manual as long as you yourself are able to kill him very quickly on like in one move, because he like continuously seals you and at some point kills you. Then prayer manual revives you, clearing all your status effects and ending the enemy's turn. As such, you get your turn and you can just like revenge kill him. Super handy in that scenario, and for me does deserve the B tier. Confucius Sutra, yeah, there's no argument. Guaranteed accuracy. The enemy cannot parry. The enemy cannot reflect the damage when being attacked, and you yourself are immune to crits. I don't know what to tell you. On the highest difficulty, reflect is an issue. On the highest difficulty, damage can be an issue. And if the enemy cannot parry, that's like very advantageous to yourself, because keep in mind, if the enemy parries, you can never crit. Even if you have 1 bazillion% chance of critting, if the enemy parries, you don't get a crit boost. And if they can't parry, that means you can get your crit boost again. So this artificially boosts your damage. It prevents reflect from the enemy, and you yourself are then also immune to crits. I don't know what else to say. This is super good. Absolute S tier. And well, this is what I've talked about with the Holy Brahma technique. The Holy Brahma technique and Confucius Sutras are mutually exclusive, and I would never get Holy Brahma over Confucius Sutras. Furthermore, like this is exclusive to the Confucius sect. That should be pretty obvious. You want to join that sect for the spring and autumn fan and also to absorb their sect leader. And you just snag this manual in the process and you're super happy with it. And yeah. Heaven Sutra. Gain more spirit during battle. If you do a correct setup with your traits, you can start each battle with 150 out of 250 spirit right away. So there's not too much point in getting it initially. Furthermore, the only use case for your spirit is going to be ultimates, and ultimates suck. And I actually have to correct myself. You can start the battle with 165. spirit. So yeah, I don't know what they were thinking with this Heaven Sutra. The version or like the alternative in that DLC 1 is a lot better, but well, we are not ranking those right now. But complete waste of a manual. Tsunami manual, gain spirit and crit, I guess, chance for the next attack after killing an enemy. Even if it's crit damage, D tier. Spirit, completely pointless. Crit chance would be more or less pointless. Crit damage is a bit more acceptable, but what is this? If you're fighting solo battles, like 1v1 battles, it's pointless. But I'll quickly check if it's crit chance or crit damage. Okay, I confirmed that it's crit chance, so absolute D tier. Virana Solar Sutra. Be immune to almost everything except disable technique. B tier. It, similarly to the prayer manual, has this one use case against the ninth faction sect leader, in that you can't be sealed anymore. The other statuses are not too impactful. You can obtain poison and bleed immunity in every playthrough. Internal injury immunity can be obtained at character creation start. Same thing with seal immunity. Blind is not really impactful to you at all. Disarm is too rarely used by enemies, and the only one I can really remember who uses it is the Langya Sword Master, but he's so frail you can kill him with a normal attack, and yeah, the other ones are not that impactful. But if you're like on a first run, or you're somehow stuck against an enemy and can't proceed because they are perma sealing you to death, equip the Virana. It definitely has use cases. If you really want to torture yourself and do a 25-60 run with 0 starting traits, so no seal immunity, you are obligated to run this technique. It's also, I gotta say, super simple to obtain. You just like intrude into the tower of the Shiva temple, grab those books up there, read them in the disciple room, and suddenly you have the Virana Solar Sutra. But yeah, it's a B tier for me. Prismatic River. Plus damage and crit chance when health is below 50, less damage taken, and more parry chance when HP is above 50. Is this like reversed? I'm somehow confused right now. Like, wouldn't you want to get more damage and crit chance when you're super healthy and get less damage taken when you're not healthy anymore? Did they mess it up on the wiki or not? Let me double check. No, they did not mess it up. It actually is like that. Okay, I would have wished for these to be reversed, because 40% more damage dealt when at full health or like above 50% would have been like super good. Like 40% damage at all times. Keep in mind, we did say Endless Maha is not that good, with 50% damage after your next action if you crit, but 40% would have been good. Definitely. But in this case, you need to be at a low health, and being at low health on one hand is scary. On the other hand, some certain in-game sections heal you. I'm not liking this. Like, definitely C tier. It does have some use cases. You can put yourself at lower HP and then suddenly you deal a lot more damage. One downside of it is where you obtain it. You obtain it at the Supreme Court trial, or rather after the trial if you head into the prison room, and that's not too easy. Like, it's very late into the story. Next up, Holy Fire Divine Skill. Plus attack in combat, minus damage taken when attacked by a person using the Yin type manual. I did not yet address these Yang, Yin, and neutral or harmony types so far, because while they do have an effect in game, So yin, for example, does 10% more damage. Yang means you get 10% damage reduction, and neutral means you get 5% more damage and 5% damage reduction. That's the actual effects of what those internal types do. But like in most cases, you would want yin just for the more damage, unless you're doing a tank build, in which case you want yang. But I wouldn't like decide my manual purely based on this internal type. Now with the Holy Fire Divine skill, you get like a full twist, in that like half damage taken when attacked by someone using a Yin type internal can be abused for certain. If you know you're fighting a certain enemy, a certain boss with this, you just take half damage, super good, and more damage dealt is also really nice. Furthermore, it is one of these stat sticks. If you look at it, all of the other manuals we featured so far only add MP, HP, defense, maybe some like toxicology and so on, but never attack. But this actively grants you more attack. So it's like super good. There are going to be some more of those manuals down the line, but this is probably like the one downside is it's a bit annoying to obtain, way too late. So I'd probably just use the homestead to transfer it, but very solid, I'll be honest. Infinity Manual. Okay, I didn't mean to do this. Perfect. If you do not want to have fun in this game, pick this manual. It's that simple. It is super busted. It is super strong. There is no single doubt about it. With it, you can clear the whole game if you are smart enough, which is like a throwback to a Discord user who managed to lose the game even though he had the Infinity Manual equipped, but it's not fun. If you want to, you can obtain this manual in every single run at the cost of 99 maximum MP, and that's not really a downside when you can farm your back mountain for like 2 minutes and get plus 300 max MP, and like the effect is super good. 80% damage reduction if an enemy is close by to you, 20% damage reduction if no enemy is nearby you. Yeah, what should I say? Emperor Yin Yang Sutra. It is the Taoist equivalent of the old demon or ice prison quest lines, so mutually exclusive with Confucius and Holy Brahma. It is certainly stronger than Holy Brahma in that it has like some very rare use cases. I would never use this manual on the regular. It's only when you know a certain enemy would, for example, have infinity manual, which the normal enemies don't. But in case there ever is such a situation, this is super nice. It can also be used to counter the Confucius Sutras. So yeah, like that's the use case and that's about it. The sun burning sky or burning sun technique, it's like very cool once you fully understand its synergy with the imperial seal. So, and by the way, this medical change was more recent. What it does is if you crit the enemy, you will then always combo afterwards. A combo is like doing your move again with 50% damage. Furthermore, if you parry, then you're guaranteed to like follow up the parry with a counter, which uses a random move of yours at 50% power. And if you then add, and I don't know if they have a page for this, the Imperial Seal, okay, sadly not. If you add the Imperial Seal into the equation, it gets a lot more interesting. With the Imperial Seal, you are guaranteed to crit and guaranteed to parry. The only exception is if the enemy is using the Confucius Sutras. But this means with the combo of the Imperial Seal and Sunburning Sky technique, you have guaranteed crit, guaranteed combo, guaranteed parry, and guaranteed counter. I'd put it into S. The exception, and that's where Burning Sun gets a lot worse, is on the very highest difficulty. So I'll put it onto high A. Is on the highest difficulty, your accessory will be ignored when an enemy attacks you. As such, you don't get the guaranteed parry, and if you don't get the guaranteed parry, you can ignore your counter. Furthermore, with the Way of Nature trait, which can be obtained in every run, you already have guaranteed combo. And as such, on the highest difficulty, this manual is lacking because you can fulfill this condition at all times, and this condition is pointless. But on any other run, especially when you're starting out, when you don't allow yourself to transfer a lot of gear or something, or it's your first run entirely, super good. Like snag yourself the seal in Linen City or in the Yan army camp, I believe is the other one, and you're like rocking. This is also a super like simple manual to obtain once you know it. It's like day level 50 about. I just grab it. 9 Never Frost Chi. Very annoying to obtain. In case you didn't know, this is with this VIP special area, and to obtain it initially you get a permanent debuff. So the best way is to like obtain it once at some point and then transfer it to your future runs. But these effects are so underwhelming, and yeah, I think it does have use case. I'll be honest. It should not end up in D tier ever, as it does do a lot more than, for example, the 7 Sutra or the Endless Maha. But it's so underwhelming. I'll give it low C. Depending on which internal type the enemy runs, they either get less attack, less defense, or both, and they get like less action speed. I guess one use case with it would be the party build. So one of your party members runs the Dancing Garment Sutra, one party member runs 9 Never Chi, but it's too annoying to obtain. I don't like it that you actively get a permanent debuff, an annoying debuff on your character to obtain it, and unless you start with this one special guest trait, it's super late game where you obtain this. Not recommended. Vedas scripture. You only take some of the inflicted status effects and reflect the rest back, and for every time you are hit, you get like accumulating attack and defense. So if you've been hit a total of 7 times in the combat, you are like getting 35% damage and defense for everything. It has to be, I don't know, A or high B. I think high B is good. The downside with Vedas scripture is with the current meta of the game, when you look at builds, a lot of them are centered around one-shots. And if you one-shot the enemy, you don't accumulate damage or defense. So it's like counterproductive to the current meta of the game. If the game would get a difficulty overhaul at some point, I can imagine Veda scripture being either A or S. Just like this effect is super handy. But with the current meta, it's not too helpful. The one scenario where you get like a lot of hits in, or rather are being hit a lot, is defensive builds. But yeah, I don't see myself running Veda scripture on defensive builds too much. Furthermore, like the effect, or not the effect, the obtainment where you obtain this manual is a bit annoying, a bit late game with the western or desert region. So that definitely plays into it or factors into it. Now, a weapon or a manual type I don't know how to rank. The Tyrant play technique. First thought is put it into S, but not for its active effect. The active effect, like accumulating damage, is very similar to Veda scripture, and the effect is really bad. It sucks. It's only for your blade or knife or saber type weapons, but we don't care about it at all. What this manual is all about is the 500 attack it offers. It is not meant to be run as a main internal manual, but rather as a stat stick. And now I did not clarify whether this is like a main internal or stat stick internal tier list. But yes, this like plays a huge role into Tyrant Blade. If we just rank it by this effect, it is absolutely D. If we look at it from the stat point of view, it is S. In a lot of runs, if we look at the recent ones, I always head to the desert and make sure to grab the Tyrant Blade technique. Because if you do manual fusion, and let's say you end up with 5 internal manuals, one is your like main, one with the stats, and the rest are Tyrant Blade static fusions, that's 3,000 attack you're getting. That is so obscene. That's so much power. So, well, take this into consideration when looking at Tyrant Blade. Wei Liao Zhe. I put the other ones like Dancing Garment, Sutra for the party members in B. Well, I never did end up in C, but Wei Liao Zhe is another party one. You would put it onto one of your party members, not ever your main character, and you get some additional stats. Oh, wait a second. Wait, I think I'm misreading this. You get... Nah, I'm sorry. Okay, this is still B tier, but the equipped character gets more attack and defense for each surviving ally, up to 25%. Okay, then it's a bit worse, but I believe like B tier is still fine. If you're playing with a whole squad, whole party, 25% damage and defense is acceptable. It's right there on turn 1 on the first turn, in comparison to the Vedas scripture, which takes time to accumulate. Absolute poison remnants. I don't know why poison sucks entirely in this game, why every manual like based around poison sucks entirely in the game, but so be it. You would deal some like true damage to the enemy equal to the poison times 5. Poison is hard capped at 100, so at most 500 damage, and endgame enemies have like 15,000, 20,000. This is not gonna do anything, like not even a scratch. And if you kill an enemy, you apply Virulent on enemies adjacent, which, well, you don't kill enemies in one-on-one combat. And even this effect is pointless, I'll be honest. A waste of a manual slot. Absolute waste of a manual slot. Then Eternal Regret only works on female characters. Had a few bugs in general, and I am not the biggest fan of it. Like, try reading this. Like, when you attack, you heal for your missing HP times 30 times the damage value. Or like times 30%. And when attacked, reflect back damage. Reflecting back damage is pointless. We don't need to do this. And healing a bit is nice, but the Archdemon Soul Eating skill is better. So yes, it's not really that pointless. So yes, it is not really that helpful, I should say, rather. Continuing on, the 9-star chain, 300 attack. That's all we care about. The other effects suck. But it's way harder to obtain. The Tyrant Blade can be obtained on any run. This cannot be obtained in any run, but only those DLC runs. And it's not enough bang for your buck. Like the Vedas scripture has 300 attack and some actually good effects. This has 300 attack and no good effects at all. Deviation from form, or how I like to call it, deviation form. I'll put it at the top of S. When attacking, deal 50% more damage. When you crit the enemy, which should be a lot of the times, you absorb some of the enemy's MP. Alongside that, 500 attack and a yin type. This is so much damage. Like, this is insane. Especially when you fuse it, 750 attack per manual. You furthermore don't need Tyrant Blade anymore. And Tyrant Blade was a young type. So not only do you get 50% more damage dealt with this, but because it's a yin type, you also get 10% more damage as well in comparison to Tyrant Blade, which would give you 10% damage reduction. It is, in my opinion, the strongest output manual there is. My personal recommendation is combining Deviation form and Confucius Sutra as well. This is your like super strong, super damaging setup for a fusion. Then I am realizing I need to add another manual because this is a bit older. And there we go, by the Sword Spirit, definitely first try. I don't even know what to say with this. D tier, just throw it into deal, just like that whole DLC. It, for some reason, has some sword stat on itself, which is cool, which is interesting. I like it. Please add it to more manuals as well. But that's it. It like one-to-one copies the effect of the infinity origin move, which is super weird that it's just like an upgraded version of it, but well, so be it. It, I realize, does not provide any defense, which is bad. When using swordsman attacks, so like, which is any sword type attack, you deal 25% more damage. If you learn the Bible Mental Sutra, which you should never, you get an effect. If you learn Teal Water Swordplay, which you should never, you get an additional effect. So I'll put it into C, purely because you get 25% more damage with your sword type moves. And that's it. Like that's the only modifier that is relevant on this. No defense, instead you get 20 sword, which is too little damage, not impactful at all. But yeah, weird setup of the DLC manuals. I'll be honest, Teal Water Swordplay and Bibu Mental Sutra are as weird as this one. And lastly, we finally ended it. The only top quality manual in the base game, the Shuen Yuan Records. It is a combination of the 9 province, of the Infinity, and the Prayer manual. Now you'd think, since it's like 3 manuals combined and they are rather high tier, it should definitely be up here. But in my opinion, this Shuen Yuan Records is worse than the Infinity manual. And the reason is the combined version of Shuen Yuan Record only provides 400 MP, whereas the Infinity manual, if you fuse it correctly, provides 1500 MP. So this times 1.5. And since you actively need MP for this technique, it is way better to fuse it yourself. The only advantage this Shuen Yuan Records has, it doesn't have this requirement of 1 to 5 maximum MP. But yeah, sure. Once you combine your manual, you can also get around that. So I'll put it into S. In most cases, and that's something that's kind of cool about it, you would combine your Infinity manual with something like the, where is it, 9 provinces manual, which is exactly what it did right here. The Prayer manual, on the other hand, I would never combine with Infinity manual. You should never die, never, if you run Infinity. If you actively die while running it, you are doing something wrong. That's a pure skill issue. And you should never like install such a fallback mechanism because it's a waste. But yes, in my opinion, it is worse than the Infinity manual. And with this, we have covered all of the different manuals. This is the whole overview of the tier list. So let me know what you guys think and what the audio was like on today's episode. As mentioned, I am tweaking around with the settings in OBS. And I suppose most people skipped ahead to this point, so I will reiterate, Tyrant Blade technique is only here due to its stat stick potential. In itself, it is not a good manual, but it's just too good as a stat stick to not include in the higher ranks. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. See you guys next time. Have a great day.